Hi, this is Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart. We're here at the New York Venture Partners Peak Pitch event in New Jersey, and we are interviewing founders and a couple of people that do the work that the founders want.
That they need done.
Yes,
The people with the dollars.
yes.
So I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Lindsey from New York Angels. She's the executive director, and she keeps everything going in the right direction, don't you, Liz?
I keep the group moving. That's correct.
So tell us about New York Angels.
Well, New York Angels is a large group of about 130 angel investors, all of whom invest independently, but they become a member of New York Angels because they have the benefit of being able to pool their expertise, the work of doing due diligence, the work of finding companies that they want to invest in the first place. They can all do that together as opposed to individually, which is what they would do otherwise. In our group, about 50% of them were entrepreneurs themselves or were very high up in management. One of my favorite members was actually a founder of JetBlue.
Wow. Do you get free plane rides?
No, but we just added a member yesterday that was one of the first employees at eBay, responsible for their search mechanism. A lot of them were very successful in business themselves and made a great exit, or they were played significant roles in companies. So, obviously, whatever they did gave them enough money that they can make this kind of high risk investment. But it also gives them expertise that both they and the companies that they invest in can succeed. They do a lot of mentoring because after they make their investment, in order to ensure the success of the company, they'll give them some mentoring in that.
That's great. And so it sounds like a really high level group. So for some people who are less familiar with investing, can you talk a little bit about what an angel investor is, what they do, and how they can benefit an entrepreneur?
Sure, definitely. Okay, so an angel investor is a person, first of all, who invests their own money. They're not running a fund. They don't raise money from other people in order to invest it, but it's their money personally that they're investing in the company. And they fill a really vital spot in fundraising because they come in early, which is why it's such a high risk investment. They come in right after what we would call the family and friends round. This is where you raise money from your family and friends from your business. But you don't have enough revenue or growth yet to attract VC funding. So angel investors fill in that vital gap. They invest in pre-seed, seed companies. They're very important in the ecosystem for filling in that gap.
So are you strictly tech in New York Angels, or do you do consumer? Do you do biotech? What?
A little bit of everything. It's such a large group that it is agnostic in interest. New York Angels started out to be primarily tech, and probably the larger body of members still is interested in tech. Right now, what they're most interested in is medical tech, which is not a surprise. This seems to be a trend in angel investment. But we also have angel members who have invested in food and beverages, gaming, a lot of digital media, some entertainment.
So do the investors communicate about different projects or different prospective deals amongst each others? How do they do that?
Our members will go out and find companies and work with them because there are a lot of events in the startup ecosystem. So there are lots of events for startups, demo days, and whatnot. Our agents might seek them. But we also get quite a few applications that come over the transom cold. And all told, I would say we get about 150 applications a month. Of those 150, myself and my associate director, Dennis, cull that number down to about 40 or 50. And then we send that out to angels who are experts in the industries in which these companies are in. They rate and review them. If they get a high enough rating and review, it goes to our screening committee, and then we invite 14 of them. Of those 150, only 14 of those get to come and pitch it to us in person.
Wow.
So what helps make the cut?
Well, a lot of them just don't give us enough information in their application, so we can make a good assessment. But the particular things that angels look for is how much money the company thinks they might be making down the line. Are they unrealistically optimistic, or are they very realistic?
Every company is worth billions, right?
Right. They also want to see a good business person on the team. You know, a lot of people can come up with an excellent idea and a great concept, but it's the business that rises or fails. So you have to have somebody who knows how to conduct business, not just create great tech, but know how to market that tech, get that tech out there, make sure that all the aspects of the business work out well. So you have to have a business person on there as well. Usually a little bit of traction. They want proof of concept. It used to be probably 5 or 6 years ago that a company might get funded on the idea of a concept itself, but now they're looking for a little more proof of concept. So that's a little bit of traction, like a number of users, number of stores you're in, if it's some kind of product, number of companies that are using your product. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be enough to show that what you've got is up and running, and that at least some people want it. Or you've got to have feedback also on product market fit. So they want the companies to be a little more de-risked than they used to be. They have to show some numbers now. They can't go just on an idea.
Do those have to be positive numbers? Do they have to be actually making money, a profit?
That's an interesting. Not really with early stage particularly, but also companies that are growing, because the idea is they're putting all of that money back into the company. So ultimately, you want a company to show profit, that's for sure.
That's kind of the name of the game.
You know, companies that would go public when they still have no profit, they've got a lot of revenue, but no profit. I don't think that's going to keep up.
I never liked that in the
trend.
first place. It's like you don't really have a company unless you're making money, right? So
correct. But when you're growing a company, when you're trying to get a company to scale, you don't actually expect to see much profit. You expect to see quite a bit of expenditure.
They're taking the money that they do receive and investing it back in the business. So that's great. So how much money has New York Angels invested over the years, and how much have they invested? How much did they invest last year?
Thank you for asking that question, because I like to brag about it. They invested $12 million in 35 companies.
Wow.
Last year.
Is that 12 million total, or is that
12 million total? And remember, these are each coming from individuals, so it's a cumulative number. The year before that, 2018, 13.1 million into 35 companies. Year before that, 13.2 into 40 companies. 34% of our companies were women-led, too. Wow. And that's important in this industry. Women and minorities in general are underrepresented, I think, as founders. I'm proud of New York Angels for that number.
That is a huge stride forward from just a few years ago. So
they actually had a pretty decent record before this year as well.
That is great, because a lot of times female founders don't get the investment dollars. And to find a place that will give them the investment dollars is amazing. So good for them.
They've got those numbers, and they're not an angel group specifically aiming for those female founders.
So I think what you're saying, they're gender neutral. It doesn't really matter. What they're looking for is a good company and a good founder.
Absolutely.
Dr. Liz, is there anything else that you'd like us to know about the New York Angels?
You know, there are pros and cons. I think a con is that it takes a while for a deal to get done, maybe two or so months, but that's because there are several individuals trying to conduct it. But the benefits that come definitely outweigh the cons. New York Angels the members can really bring the money. They can fund companies well, as you can see, based on those numbers. They have the expertise and connections that a lot of companies need as well. And in fact, quite a few companies that come pitches are looking more for that expertise and the connections than the dollars.
So one more question. If I'm a founder trying to get noticed by New York Angels, what's the first step? How do I get my foot in the door? What's the best thing to do?
Go to our website at newyorkangels.com. Go to the entrepreneurs page. You'll find that on the menu at the top. On that page, you'll find a link to apply to present to the group. And so the advice I would give on that application is be thorough. Don't leave out any information. The more information the Angels have, the better able they are to make an assessment. And generally, that application is going to require a pitch deck, as well as the creation of an executive summary. And we have a cycle every month. So we'll usually get back to that entrepreneur with either great news, hey, you're invited, or not so great news, we're going to pass probably within five weeks.
Great. Do you have any examples of pitch decks or executive summaries anywhere that are good ones that people should kind of emulate when they're applying to you? Should they just go online and find one? Should they ask a coach?
So if you want to know how New York Angels invests and the terms under which they like to invest, we have some model term sheets there that we've created as well. But generally go to the Entrepreneurs Resource page. You can reach that from the Entrepreneurs page.
So if you're brand new to this, that's like a good place to start, right? Because you've got all the things that investors look at and links to examples, so somebody can kind of get the whole picture.
They can get most of it, and I'm also thinking they probably should have just a little bit more experience fundraising before they come to us. So they should know some of this stuff already.
Well, so nice to have you, Dr. Lindsey from New York Angels, Executive Director. And thank you for the information. It's been very informative.
Oh, well, thank you. It's my pleasure. I appreciate the interview.
So this is Richard and Elizabeth Gerhardt with Passage to Profit, the Inventor Show. And we're here at Peak Pitch in New Jersey.